Hello and welcome back to another tutorial series on our backend web development with Python, Django, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, jQuery. So today we're gonna be creating the user registration model for our application. Now, this user registration model that we are going to create is gonna help users register on the platform. As you know, we're building an application that has the functionalities of Uber, Airbnb, and Booking.com. So users should be able to go to our application and create their username and password just like you go on your on Gmail or on Facebook to create your user registration details. So yeah, we're gonna be doing all that. I'm gonna show you how to create the database tables, how to write our views functionalities so that when the user puts his username, email, password, is gonna capture it and save on the database. I'm also gonna be showing you the Django built-in admin panel for easy customization. So um, I'm gonna start the application by double clicking on the folder which I've already taught in the previous lectures. So I'm just gonna right click now and then I'll go to open git bash here and then I'll type code space and dots. This is one way to open your application folder. Yeah. So then I'll press enter. Now we've done quite a few things, in previous lectures, and then if you're a beginner, I suggest you go back to the previous lectures and watch the video to this point. Otherwise, you may not be able to follow along. But if you already have prior Django experience, then you can just follow along with this video. Now, when you install Django, one of the things that you need to do is to run the migrate command. Now, let me show you how to run the migrate command. You open these three dots and click on new terminal, click on open, click on new terminal. Now, this migrate command is this is how you do it. Say python manage.py migrate. So this is a command. And then, do you know what this command is gonna do? It's gonna set up your database schema or your database structure. Now, the database structure or the database schema in Python and Django outlines the way your data is organized and how relationship among them are managed. So it's a logical configuration of all tables, fields, columns, relationship, indexes, procedures, and other elements within your database. So this command is gonna create the structure for your database building built-in applications such as your authentication, your admin, your sessions. Now, some of these things I'm gonna say, you're not gonna understand it very well, but you don't need to worry because as we keep on building and we keep on writing the codes and building the application, everything is going to make more sense. So this python manage.py migrate is going to create your initial database tables. It's as simple as that. Now yeah, so type python manage.py migrate and press enter. So Django comes with, some default tables like authentication, admin, and session. So when you type this Python manager.py migrate, it creates those tables for you. Look, it says applying AUTH 006, so it has created our tables for us. Now, I'm gonna show you how to access the Django admin panel. Now, this Django admin panel is a pre-built module that can easily help you perform some specific operations. Now, this Python manage.py migrate command has created the tables and all the rest. You have two options. This is our database. It created this DB SQLite3 database. And for now, we're going to be using db.sqlite3. But as we progress, I'm going to show you how to integrate this application with Postgres. I'm also going to show you how to integrate this application with MySQL or MySQL as well. So you know how to, develop application with these three databases. Now, you can access this database with some third-party apps like DB browser for SQL, but you can also access everything on this database through the Django admin panel. So whatever you do, you can see everything on the admin panel. And on the admin panel, you can perform code operations such as create, update, delete. You can use it to search for records. You can use it, to create user, to delete records and whatever you want. But then we're not gonna use the Django admin panel so much because I want you to know how to perform these actions using codes, not using what Django has developed for you. Because if you keep on using the admin panel to manage your users, to add users and all this, you wouldn't know how to write codes properly. So, but yeah, as a Django developer, you need to know how the admin panel works and you still need to use it. So, we've run this command python manage.py migrate, which has created our initial database table. Now, to have access to the admin panel, you need to create a super user account, and the code is python manage.py create super user. This is the code. So I'm just gonna type it on a notepad so that you see it. The first code is python manage.py migrate, and then to create super user account is python manage.py create super user. So this is gonna create your account to access admin panel. Admin panel. Yeah, so through this admin panel, you can easily manipulate your database. Now, I've typed python manage.py create super user and press enter. When you do that, it's gonna ask you username. So leave blank to use Lenovo as username, but I'm not gonna leave it as blank. I'm just gonna type a username as ever. Press enter. It asks you enter your email. I'll say just put your email or any email. Press enter. And then it says enter your password. This password is not gonna show when you type in it. Once you type the password, it's not showing, but it has captured it. Press enter. It's gonna say password again. You repeat your password. Now, if everything is correct, it says super user created successfully. Now, the next step you need to do is to run your server so that you can be able to navigate to the admin panel. Now, you say python manage.py run server. That is it. Python manage.py run server to start your development server. I've taught this before in the previous lectures. So now Python manage.py, run server, press enter, and then it's gonna spin up your server. So you just go to this link. You can hold down control. Once you hold down control, your cursor changes to a finger pointer, and then you can click on it, or you can just copy this IP address, copy it and paste it on your web browser. Either ways, it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna click on it now. Yeah, so this is our web application. This is where we've built so far, and then we're gonna keep on building our page, and make everything very beautiful. But now I want to show you how to navigate to the admin panel. So come to this URL, at the end of it, /admin admin, and press enter. That is it. So to see your admin panel, this is the IP address. To see your admin panel, open your IP address /admin. That's all, and press enter. So it's gonna take you to this page, Django administration. Now you put the username that you imputed, and then you impute the password as well. So yeah, this is my Django admin panel. Now I am able to see this admin panel because of this code that I typed, Python manage.py create super user. Remember, when you type this code, it asks you your username, your email, password, and repeat password. And then it's gonna create your access to the admin panel. So this is the admin panel. We don't have any database for now. We don't have any fields. The only one that we have is, if you go to users now, you're gonna see this is the user that I just created when I ran python manage.py create super user. So this is the only record I have. Now, if you want to add another super user, you can come to your terminal again and repeat this code, python manage.py create super user, with a different user login details, and it's still gonna create another super user account for you. Maybe you have someone else that you're working with and you also want to give the person super user admin privileges. You can create it with this code again. So you can create as many super users as you want, but then if you come to your admin page by spinning up your server with python manage.py run server, and then you come to this IP address, which is here, you can also add a user here. So this is what I explained, that the Django admin panel can enable you add users, it can enable you delete users, it can enable you modify, filter your database, and do you know, a lot of stuff with your database without writing a single line of code, just through the admin interface. So I'm I'm gonna show you. I have shown you how to use. I've shown you how the Django admin panel works, but then we're still gonna write every code, you know, to create user, to modify, to search, everything that we want. So we're not gonna use this admin panel so much. We're just gonna be making quick reference to this. So look, instead of running this Python managers py create super user to create another super user account, you can use your super user login details, login and create another super user for other people. Do you understand what I mean? Okay. So this is by the way. So I've taught you how to create your super user account, and now also how to access your admin panel. I've also explained what the admin panel is meant for. So that's by the way. Now we're gonna create an app. Now the app that we're gonna create, we're gonna call it authentication app. So I'm just gonna explain what an app is in Django. So an app is a self-contained module that encapsulates a specific functionality or a set of related features within a project. Now, what do I mean? We are creating an application that has the functionalities of Uber, Booking.com, and Airbnb. This is a very big and robust application that is going to have a lot of functionalities. So we're going to create different apps. Now, in this application, we're going to have an app called, for example, authentication. Authentication. So in this application, we're gonna write all our codes that has to do with creating of user accounts, updating of password, deleting accounts, modifying your account, creating of user profile, and every other function that is related to authentication. So authentication app, all this, we will write all the code for this. Now, which other app again do you think that we're gonna have on this application? We're gonna have obviously booking app as well. Now, booking app, let me just write authentication app has to do with creating user accounts. So we're gonna have apps like booking app, which is gonna take care of booking booking a ride, canceling a ride, reporting incidents, during ride, and every other functionalities that has to do with booking of ride. Then we're gonna have maybe an app like property, property management. So in property management, individuals can list their properties, hotels can also list their properties so that user will rent it. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain by apps. So we create different apps to manage different segments or different sections of our application, because we can't write all our codes in one place. If we write all our codes in one place, it's going to be so big, it's going to be, you're not gonna be able to manage it. But by creating of apps, you're gonna encapsulate your codes, you're gonna segment your codes, and then it's gonna help a lot in the management of your codes and your project generally. So now we will create an app for authentication. And like I said, this authentication app is gonna manage user account creation. Just like if you want to use Gmail, for example, you go and create your username and password on google.com or wherever. If you want to create your account on Facebook, you also do the same thing. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna create authentication app. Now, how do you create an app? Now, my server is still running at this point. So I'm just gonna click on this terminal and press Ctrl and C to stop the server, or I can just kill my terminal here, or I can close it from here and then start it all over again. But now I'm just gonna press Ctrl C, so it has stopped. Now, if you don't want to press Ctrl C and you close your terminal, for example, you can simply go back to this place, go to terminal and click on new terminal. Yeah. So now, to create an app, you say Python manage.py start app authentication. So this is the code Python manage.py start app authentication. And then this is no start app authentication. This is the name of the app, which can be anything, but it just has to be related, to what you are doing. So yeah, when you want to create the next app, you also say python manage.py start app and then the name of the app. So I'm just gonna let me close all my folders, and then once I press enter, it's gonna create a new folder called authentication. Look at it. It has created it, authentication. So this is my authentication app. All the codes I want to write for authentication, creation of accounts, and everything is going to be in here. Now, if I expand it, you see that it has some files inside it: the migration file, init.py, admin.py, apps.py, models.py, test.py, views.py. Now, you don't bother if you don't understand some of the terminologies I'm saying or some of the things I'm saying. It's normal. So as we keep on building this application and as we keep on progressing, you're gonna understand everything perfectly. So I got someone that is following this tutorial series, and he reached out to me and was like, this thing is too difficult, and are there no areas of IT that are easier? I really don't know what to say, because some of these things I'm doing, it can take me less than 3 minutes to do it. But I spent an hour explaining these things over and over again. And I told you, one of the ways that you can learn programming is by having your notes. You must have your note, and you must document this process step by step, one after the other. How to create an app, you write the steps. How to start server, you write the step. In fact, you should have a note that document the steps from the beginning. Now, you can simply come to this point, right click and say new file, and then just type notes. And then when you type note, you can put down your notes. So each project you are building, you can have your notes, and then you start documenting everything. That way you'll be able to remember. But you can't put all these things in your head and memorize it. It is impossible, because this is a whole lot. We're gonna deal with Django, we're dealing with Python, we're dealing with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, Ajax programming, and a whole lot of stuff. So you can't remember everything. It takes time. You don't even need to know everything to start as a freelance developer or to get a job. Once you have the basic idea and you have where to make reference, that's okay. You can build anything you want. So yeah, so that's by the way. I already have a note here that I kept on this app, and if you download my source code from GitHub, you're gonna have access to the notes. But it is advisable that you create your own notes the way you're gonna understand. Now, so as I was saying, it has created an app for us. We used Python manage.py start app authentication. So I'll just go back to the notes. I'm just gonna delete this to start to create an app, an app. Python manage.py start app authentication. So it's gonna create um, the authentication folder and some files inside it. Now, after registering your app, the next thing you need, after creating your app, the next thing you need to do is to register your app on your main project folder. This is our main project folder, book and ride. This is our main project folder. So you go to your main project folder, expand it, go to settings.py, click on settings.py, and then you scroll down. There's a section for installed apps. I'm just gonna scroll down gradually. So look at it, installed apps. Yeah, inside this place, you have to register the app that you just created, authentication. So you come to this last line. You can do it at the top, you can do it at the bottom, but it's advisable to do it at the bottom. So press enter, open a single quote, you type authentication, authentication. It's as simple as that. Don't forget to put your comma at the end, authentication. So I have registered the app now. So now the next thing that we have to do, we have to create a model for our authentication. What do we want to do? We want to create a database that will capture the username of the person, the email of the person, and the password of the person. That is the first thing that we're gonna do. So a model in Django is a database table that defines the structure of the data. Now, how do you create a model? Open your authentication app, you open it and you go to models.py. Now, here you create your model. Like I said, this model is your database table. And what do we want to do? We want to create a database table for username, email, and password so that users can go to our page, type their email, their username and password, and create their account. So how do we start? You have from Django.db import models, which is fine. You can leave it. You can delete this. This is a comment. You can delete it if you want. You can also leave it. Now, the next module you want to import is from Django.contrib, not config, not contrib, from Django.contrib dot dot models import abstract user. Now, there are different ways of creating your authentication in Django, but this is one of the simplest method that you can understand very well at this point. So as we progress, I'm going to show you other ways that you can achieve the same thing. Now, this abstract user is a base class that is customizable. Just leave it at that. As we progress, you're gonna understand things better. But for now, I don't want to confuse you so much. So this is our base model, and we have to customize it. Now, remember, before you create this user model, you have to import this from django.contrib.auth.models import abstract user. Now, so this is how to create our model. You define a class, you give it space, call it a name. I'm just gonna call it user because I want this model to be used in saving user login details. So a model is a database. Now, open brackets, you say abstract user, extend abstract user, and then you put colon, press enter. Now, what is the first field that we need to capture? Username. Username equals models dot character field, and then you say max underscore length equals username 100. So you know what username is. You go on Gmail or wherever you want to create account, is asking you what username do you want to use. This is exactly how it's defined if you're using Django. So you say username equals models dot character field. This char field means character field. Why did I choose character field? Because username can be a combination of numbers, letters, and even special characters. So anything that has to do with that is not um, numbers alone is called character field. So max length equals to 100. This max length means that the length of the username cannot exceed 100. And the more you increase this number, the more your database will become bigger. In fact, at this point, I don't think 100 is even too much for a username. We can just limit it to 40. So I don't know how a username is gonna be long until it's gonna exceed 40. So always choose a value that you know that is not too short for the particular field that you're creating. Now, the next field I'm gonna capture is email. Email equals, what is emails gonna be? Models dot email field, and then yeah, we're gonna say unique equals true. Now, unique equals true means no two people can have the same email on our account. So imagine that if you're creating your Gmail account and somebody already have that email that you're using, it's not gonna go right. It's gonna say username does not is not available. No, it's taken. So we don't want any two users to have the same email address. That is why we said I'm saying unique equals true. So any field you want to be unique, you can define this. For this, if I want this username to be unique, I can also say unique equals true. Hope you understand what I mean. No, but it doesn't matter. Two people can have the same username. I don't mind. Depends on how you want to structure yours. You can say unique equals true, but for me, I'm just gonna leave it at this. Now, the next field we wanna declare is underscore staff equals, I'm just gonna say models dot boolean field default equals false. So while creating the user account, it is important to define this. So this means we don't want the person to have access to the admin panel. Remember the admin panel that I showed you earlier? We don't want the person to have access to the admin panel. We don't want the person to have admin rights. That's why we have to define this. So imagine that you're creating an account on Google, or let's say Uber, and then you have access to the admin panel, where you can delete users and do some things. People are gonna abuse it. So we will only give access rights to people that we want to have access. So it's important to declare this. So you say is underscore staff equals models dot boolean field default equals false, and then you also say is underscore super user equals models dot boolean field default equals false. So the user is not a staff, and the user is not a super user as well. Now, I'm gonna say username field equals email. I'm gonna explain this to you. Email. So remember when we ran python manage.py create user, you are able to log in to your admin panel using your username field, not the email. You use username field to log in. So, but right now we are customizing this base user class, and we are telling the base user class that the username field should be email. So the next time you want to try to log in to your admin panel, you're not going to use your username anymore, but you're going to log in with your email. If you want to keep on using username field, then you can delete this. But if you want to change it so the user can log in with their email instead of their username, you have to define this. Now, you say required fields equals username, uh, this username. Where did we get this email from? It's from this. So while if the user inputs username, the user input his email, these two fields will be automatically captured. The user will not have opportunity to indicate if he's a staff or is a super user. So by default, that is why I say default equals false, default equals false. So while creating the user account, by default, this the user will not be staff, and the user will not be a super user as well. While we're saying the user should log in to the site using their email, and then required field is username. So this username is required. Now, this username is required. That means the user must input the username. Now ask, why did we not say email is also required? We did not say email is required because we've already said username field is equals to email. So by default, it must ask the user to input username before the record will be saved. Because of this, assuming we don't have this, and then we also gonna put it as a required field. So we've already declared that the username field should be email, so the application must force the user to input their email and their username. I hope you understand that. But for these two fields, you don't need to put it. By default, as you create your account, it's just gonna make you not to be a staff, and is also make you not to be a super user. Now, the last thing you want to do is to define the string representation of this object, and then you do it by saying def space underscore underscore. This is two underscore, and then st arrow underscore underscore again. You open brackets, you say self, then colon, you press enter, and you say return self dot username. So this is the string representation of this object. It means when a user have created their username, if you go to the admin panel, you will see the representation of this object is gonna be username. So when you go to your admin panel, or when you go to your database, for example, you have 3 users that are registered. So you're gonna say one Eva, two John, three James. You understand what I mean? If I say return self.email instead of username, self.email is gonna give me one. Uh, it will display the email of the user instead. I hope you understand what I mean. So I'm just gonna leave it as username. So yeah. Now, after you create your model, the next thing you have to do is to register. So we've created our model. We've created our model, and then the next thing you have to do is to register the model. Register the model. Now, before you register the model, just click on File, click on Save All. Now, go to your authentication folder. Remember, we created this model inside our authentication app. So you go to the authentication app, click on admin.py. So go to admin.py, go to admin.py, and then you type admin.sites.register, and then you put the name of the model. So what is the name of our model? The name of our model is user. admin user. Now I created a model called user. To register the model on our app, you go to your app, the app that where you created the model. You go to admin.py and type admin.site.register user. But user is giving us error because we need to import it. So this is automatically imported. You leave it. Just go below and type form dot models import user. Once you do that, the error on the user is gonna go. Now let me explain this. I say from dot models, it means the dot means from this folder, because models is inside the authentication folder as well, and admin.py is also inside authentication folder. This is our models.py where we have the user model, and we want to register it inside our admin. Let me collapse this. We want to register it inside our admin.py file, and both the model and the admin.py is inside our authentication app folder. That is why we say from .models import user. This dot means from within this folder import user. You can also say from authentication, uh, from authentication dot models import user. This is also gonna work, but this is shorter. So this is also gonna work. So you say from authentication folder dot models dot this models import user. User is inside this model. So this is usually used when we want to import things from other apps. So for example, if I have maybe a class in book and guide, that is when this will be more appropriate. You can say from book and guide dot whatever imports. Do you understand? Import user. Assuming this user model is inside this book and ride folder, that's when we have to say from book and ride dot models import user. So but our user model and our admin.py are inside authentication. That is why we simply say from dot models import user. So I'm just gonna comment of this. I'm just gonna comment of this, but this is also gonna work. So this is how to register your your models. So don't forget, whenever you create a model, you have to register it. If you don't register it, you're not gonna see it on your admin panel. Now, the next thing you're gonna do for this authentication model is to go to your project level folder and override the default user model. So I'm just gonna go to this is my project level folder book and ride. Go to settings.py, go down below and press enter and type this auth dot user no auth underscore user underscore model equals authentication dot user. Now remember, when we run this code, python manage.py create user, we are able to create a username and a password which we use in accessing our admin panel. So we were using the default Django authentication model, but now we've created our own model where we've defined some other variables and also said our username field should be email instead of the username. So you have to go to your settings and tell Django that, hey, Django, we're no longer using your default authentication model. Rather, we are using our own defined user model. And how did I get this? This is coming from authentication app. This authentication app that we created. Remember, we created an authentication app, and inside our models.py, we created a class called user. That is why I have auth underscore user underscore model equals authentication, our app dot user, the model that we created for our user. So this is it. If you don't do this, it's not gonna work, or you're gonna have errors. Now, when you do this, you need to run this code again. You need to run. Now you don't need to run only migrate, but you need to run python manage.py make migrations. So when you run this code and it finishes, you say python manage.py migrate. Remember, whenever you create a model, you must run these two codes so that it's gonna create the database for you. Now, because we have already run this initial migrate command and created our default tables, user tables, also created our super user account, if you run this code at this point, it's gonna give errors because we already have a structure. However, we have changed that structure to this user model. And one of the changes we made is that we told Django that the username field should not be username again, but it should be email. So if you run these two commands, it's gonna give you error at this point. So I'm just gonna run it so you see the errors I'm talking about. Now, before you run it, you go to File, Save All. Then let me just close all my apps. Let me collapse everything. So I'll say python manage.py make migrations. Press enter. So it has migrated the changes, and then I will say python manage.py migrate. So now I have typed python manage.py migrate and press enter. So you see, I have a whole lot of errors. It didn't work because I had already ran this code, python manage.py migrate, created my default user model table, and then I now came back again and changed everything. I created a model and overrided the default user model. So we have a whole lot of errors. Now, how do you manage these errors? First of all, go to your authentication app. This is the authentication app. Go to your migrations and delete this 0001 underscore initial.py. Delete it, just right click and you click on delete. Move to recycle bin, and then you have to delete your database. This is it, db.sqli3. Right click on it and delete it as well. So I've deleted it. I'm just gonna I'm gonna just gonna kill this terminal again, and then yeah, everything is saved. Go back to terminal, click on new terminal, and then you now type these two codes: python manage.py make migration and python manage.py migrate. So I'm just gonna say python manage.py make migrations. And then, so once I say python manage.py make migration, it creates a new database for me. So the old super user account that you created is gone. The old tables have been flushed away. This is a brand new database that takes account this model that we created and this settings that we made. So now you type the next code, python manage.py migrate, python manage.py migrate, and then you press enter. Now it has worked. It's applying all your migrations and then creating your new tables and everything. So it's gonna create this table again, this table. Now at this point, we'll have to create a new super user account. Create a new super user account. Now, you still remember the code. This is the code. Python manage.py create super user. So I'm just gonna come here and type python manage.py create super user and press enter. Now it's asking me of email. I type my email. Can be anything. Username, password, repeat password. Like I told you, when you type in your password, it's not gonna show anything, but it's capturing it and you press enter. Now it says super user created successfully. So let's check if our super user has been created successfully. How do you check it? You run your server with this python manage.py run server. So I'm just gonna type python manage.py run server, and then I press enter. So it has spinned up my server. You can copy this URL as I said, paste it on your web browser, or you hold down Control and press on this link. So yeah, here is it. Now, to go to your admin panel, come to this URL and press /admin. Press enter. So you see, this time around is asking of email, not username anymore. Previously, it says enter your username, but now it's asking of the email. So I'm just gonna put my email, and then I'm gonna put my password. So now here we are. If I click on users, this is my account, like I showed you earlier, and then you can add a new user, or you can simply come to this place and create a super user. If you create a super user here, remember, this is our model where we say the staff equals models dot boolean field default equals false, is super user equals models dot boolean field default equals false. So this means while we're creating a user account, while a user is creating their account on the web page, this is gonna be false and this is also gonna be false. But then if you come to your terminal and run this python manage.py create super user, this is gonna be true and this is gonna be true because you are telling Django that you want to create a super user account. Now, that is by the way. So the next model we're gonna create is our user profile model. Now, what is this user profile model? When you're creating your Gmail account, does it stop by asking you of your username and your email? No. It may ask you of your first name, your last name, your date of birth, nationality, um, and other information, your user profile. Just for example, you have your user profile on Facebook where you have, some personal details about you. So we have to create a model to capture our user profile as well. Now, this model, um, um, let me just comment it for you. This is a user model for login, for creating login details. Now we'll create another model again. Now let me show you something quickly. On our admin, this is our user model table. So even without going to opening your DB browser, this sorry, db.sqlite, even without going opening your database, you can access the informations on your database through this admin panel. So this is your user table, and if you open it, you will see the information in it. Now we have to create another model to store our user profile. Now you say you always create it by defining a class def. I'm just gonna call it user profile. So user profile can be anything. You can call it any name, but just name it something related to what you're doing. I'm not going to use a function based. Let me use class based. The class user profile, open bracket, you say models dot model. Models dot model. The second model is capital, and then you put a semicolon, you press enter. Now what is the first field that we want to capture? I'll call it first underscore name. Now in Python, variable naming convention, you can't have space in a variable name. You can't have a space in a variable name. A variable name cannot also start with number. For example, you can't say one first underscore name. It's giving error. So a variable name cannot start with a number. It can contain a number, but it can't start with a number. So I'm just gonna delete this. And then it's not also, it cannot have a space. You cannot say first space name. It's not gonna work. You need to join it with maybe underscore or hyphen, but underscore is more appropriate. So I'll say first underscore name equals models dot character field max length equals 50. Why did I choose 50? Because I don't think that someone's first name can be longer than 50. But then I'm just gonna make it 70 in case, in exceptional cases, someone's name can be longer than 70. So this this implies that while the person is imputing his first name, once it gets to 70 characters, it's not gonna take anything more. So you have to be careful with this number. Don't define a number that is too small, because if it's too small, maybe it can cut off people's first name. But then don't define something that is too big, because if it's too big, your database gets bigger. So making this 1000, for example, is unreasonable, because there is no way a person's first name can be up to 1000. But 70 or 100 is reasonable. So you are saying max length is 100. Now, what is the next field we want to capture? Last name, last underscore name equals models dot character field. I'm still gonna say max underscore length equals 100. Now, remember, I'm using first name and last name, but in your own, you can add middle name if you want. So the only way you can learn is by adding new features to what I'm teaching you. Try out a few things, and if you have any errors, just let me know. Just ask in the Q&A section. You can send me an email. For those that have my number, you can send me a chat, and I'm gonna respond to you. If you don't try out things, have errors, debug it with my help or by your own research. Now, the next field we want to capture is the profile picture of the user. So I'm gonna say profile underscore picture equals models dot image field. So profile picture is an image. That's why we say models dot image field, and we say upload to equals um quotes I'm just gonna say user folder, for example, slash um, profile underscore pictures. This means that each time a user uploads a profile image, it should create a folder called user folder. Inside that folder, it should create a subfolder called profile pictures and save the picture inside there. Do you know why I'm doing this? Now, users will upload their pictures, vendors like homeowners, hotel owners or hotel managers will also upload images of their rooms, images of their registration details. Drivers are gonna upload images of their vehicle and all the rest. Now, we can't cluster all those pictures in the same folder. It's not gonna be easy for management. If you want to sort images, you wouldn't know where to go or how to efficiently sort it. But if all user profile pictures goes into this folder, um, all cover photo goes into this same folder, but another a subfolder, then vendor images goes to its own folder. Is gonna be easy to manage. So yeah, as we code along, you're gonna understand better what I'm trying to do. The next, what you need to declare next is say blank equals true. It means this field is optional. The user can decide not to upload profile picture. On your Facebook, I believe some people don't have a profile picture. This is what they implemented there. Blank equals true. So it's optional. Whether you upload or not, it's not gonna give you any issue. And then you say null equals true. Uh, True. So on the database, this field can be empty. Null means empty. So if you want to mandate the user to upload a profile picture, then you have to remove this. Now, the next field we're gonna want to capture is cover underscore photo. So on your Facebook account, remember you have your profile picture and you have your cover photo as well. So we want users to be able to create their accounts. As they are creating their account, they can upload their profile picture. They can also upload their cover photo if they want. So cover photo is gonna be exactly the same code. Models dot image field, models dot image field, then upload to. This time around, I don't want to upload it to no, I still want to upload it into this user folder. So I'm gonna call it user folder. The same name, I'm just gonna copy this name, user folder, but inside a subfolder called cover underscore photos. So all the cover photo of every user, even if there are 10,000, is gonna go inside this folder, user folder, cover underscore photos. Let me show you what I mean. Let me just go to my desktop, and then I'm just gonna show you what I mean. So for example, I have a folder called I have a folder called rename, let me say images, and then inside these images I'll have a folder called, here is my code, I'll have a folder called user folder, rename, user folder. And inside this user folder, I will have a folder called profile pictures, new folder. So this is it. I have a folder called images. Inside it, I have a folder called user folder. Inside the user folder, I have a folder called profile pictures. So I will now have all the profile pictures that is being uploaded on my site will be saved here. Now, this one is gonna be the same user folder. So it's still gonna go into this images user folder. Now, instead of saving in profile pictures, it's gonna go to its own folder called cover photos. Do you understand? So you can easily sort and manage media this way. Now, when I'm creating folder for my vendors, so this is gonna be, I'm gonna have something like this, maybe vendor. Do you understand? Then inside this vendor folder, I'm gonna have different folders as well and save vendor images in there. So that is exactly what I'm trying to implement. But in our case, instead of, it's not gonna go into image folder, rather it's gonna go, we've already created a media folder. It will go inside this media. So remember, we set up our media files and our static files. So if you don't understand what static files and media files are, watch the previous videos, you'll see. So this user folder is gonna be created inside this media folder, and then this user profile will be created inside the user folder, which is inside this media folder, and that is where all the pictures will be stored. So this media folder will be used to store all images, all videos, and whatever media that we have. So now for cover photo as well, I'll still say I'll still say blank equals true, and then null equals true. So means it's optional. User can upload their cover picture, or they can also upload their profile picture if they want. But then there are some of the app that we'll be creating that profile picture is gonna be mandatory. For example, when we're creating our ride app where users can use to book their ride and everything, the drivers must upload their profile pictures because we want to know who they are, you know. So that is that. But this is can be it can be now. The next field I wanna capture is date of birth. So I'm just gonna call it DOB. So date of birth is necessary because we can't let minors book a hotel room on our app. So yeah, we need to follow you need to follow the laws while you're building app. So um the person shouldn't be less than 18 years of age. Depends on the country that you are, you know. So date of birth. So I'll say models dot date time field. I'll call it date time field. Now, yeah, auto now add equals false. I'm gonna explain this. Um, null equals false. And then what am I also gonna say? Blank equals false. Now, date time field, we don't want it to automatically add. If you don't define this, then it's just gonna pick the current dates, year and month. So we're saying auto now add equals false. It should just stay there for the user to select it by themselves. And we say null equals false, blank equals false. That means we don't want this field to be blank. We don't want this field to be null. That means it is mandatory. I can decide not to put this, and even if I take off this, it's still gonna work. Just like the way I did with this, it's still gonna work. It's still gonna mandate the user to, upload specific, pick their date of birth and all the rest. But I'm just adding this to show you. Some people like to define it explicitly like this. So If you see someone's code and it's like this, you're not gonna be confused. So this is the field our database put for date of birth. And then the next thing I want to capture is the address of the person. So I say address underscore line one equals models dot char field models dot char field. Now you define the length, max length, because address could be how long. I'm just gonna keep it at 200. 200 long. Hmm, 200 is okay. Um, so let me just, I'll just leave that 200. I say address line two equals models dot character field max length equals 200. Now you see this code, I did not declare null equals false, blank equals false. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It doesn't matter. Now the next field I want to capture, but you must specify max length. You must specify max length. The next field I want to capture is nationality. So it's still gonna be models dot character field, then max length equals nationality. Is there any country that is longer than 150 characters? I don't think so, but I'm just gonna leave it at 150. I'm just gonna say blank equals true, null equals true. Yeah, it can be optional. The user can decide not to put his nationality or not. So yeah, you can do it the way you want. You can take up this, you can leave it. Now, the next field I want to capture is city, where the person resides. Models dot character field, max length. A city name, can it be longer than 200? These fields, yeah, I can make it optional. Blank equals true. Um, no equals true. Can make it optional if I want. Now, the next field I want to capture is postcode. Let me say zip code, zip underscore or underscore postcode. So some countries use zip code and some countries use postcode. Models does character field, max length. Zip code is not usually long. Yeah, so I'm just gonna make it 20. Max length equals 20. Blank equals true. Null equals true. The person can skip it or not. Then um what other field would I want to capture? Mobile number, um models dot character field. Now I'm using character field because mobile number is usually numbers 1, 2, 3, 0 and all the rest, but sometimes you may want to put plus, you know, +00 or whatever. So what makes it a character, not just a plain number anymore. And for this name as well, I still use character. So if it's alphabet, it's character. If it's a combination of alphabet and numbers, it's still character, you know. But for image field is not a character, it's an image field. That's why I use image field. And this is date time field, date of birth. Your date of birth, 29th June 1994 is a date time field, you know. Address is a character field. So mobile number equals max length. Max length. Can a mobile number be longer than 60? It couldn't. So you see, in some of these, I declare blank equals true, null equals true, because this field can be optional. City, yeah, the person can decide not to put a city or not. Depends on what you want. If you feel that the person should put a city, you take up this, so that's it. Now, mobile number. Now, created that, I have a field created underscore at. This is an automatic field. So immediately this user profile is created, I want to capture the date and time that this user profile is being created. I don't want the user to input it, but it should. The system should automatically pick the date and time. So I'll say equals models dot date time field. Now I say auto now add equals true. Auto now add equals true because this code will make it pick the date and time automatically. It should automatically add the date and time. But for this, for the DOB, I say auto now add equals false. I don't want it to pick because if you say auto now add equals true, it's gonna pick your date of birth as a current date. Now, um, there's a last field I need. I'm just gonna modified underscore ads equals models dot date time field. Um, auto now equals true. So I'm not saying auto now add because it's only when it's getting created that I want you to add it. But this auto now means it's just gonna take the current date time as well. Now, whenever the user modifies this will pick the current date and time whenever the user modifies their user profile. So these are two fields. On the database, you will see created that when it was created, maybe the person created on the 29th of February 2024. When the person modifies it, if the person modifies it today, which is 30th of June, it's gonna pick the modified date as 30th of June and also pick the present time. Now, this is all the fields I want to capture, and then I'm gonna create a string representation of this object. So def, the same thing we did here, this def scr. You can copy this code and paste it and modify it, but you can also type it all over again, def underscore underscore str underscore underscore bracket open self colon press enter return self dot I'm just gonna use email. Now I told you you can use return self dot first name if you want. Do I have email address? Hmm, I didn't create an email address. So so in here, let me just close this so my entire screen will show. In here, I can't use return self dot email because I did not define an email address here. So your string representation has to be something here. So I'm just gonna use dot first name. So as I explained before, when you go to your admin panel, you're gonna see first name. When you go to your DB, you're gonna see first name. Just the way here I use uh, um, return on my user model, I use return self.username. Now let's take a look at our admin panel, what is displaying. So you see, if I go to users, it shows ever. This is my username because of this self.username. So for this, I want it to display as self.firstname. I hope that is clear. So yes. Now, there's something I'm missing. Yeah, I'm gonna define a new field here. I'm gonna call it user equals models dot one-to-one field, um, packet open user. I'm gonna explain this to you, and then I'll say on delete equals models.cascade, models.cascade. Yeah. Now, what does this mean? I have my user class here. So this model is going to enable users enter their username, email, and password for login functionalities. I did not define password here because I'm only extending this abstract user. I'm extending this abstract user. That's why I didn't define password. So password is already inside this abstract user. So when you are creating your account, it will ask you of the password because password is already inside this class. Now, when you create your user account, you want to create your user profile. I'm declaring a field and say the name of my field is user. I'll say equals models.one-to-one field user. This user is coming from here. So I'm saying this user profile should be associated with this user account. I use one-to-one field, so it means one user profile can only be associated with one user account. Now, if I don't do this, it means one user can have multiple profiles. Do you understand what I mean? You can have multiple profiles, which is not good. So one user can come, he can create his user details, have a user profile called John, you can create another user profile called Evans or whatever. But this is saying one-to-one. So this field is gonna pick this user. So if you create your user as John, for example, this model is gonna go to this field and pick your username, which is John, and attach it to the user profile. So this user will be associated, this user class will be associated with this user class through this field. When we start coding it, you're gonna understand. When you create your user account, it's also gonna create your user profile and associates one user account to one user profile. That is what it simply means. So right now, we've created a model that is gonna store the login details. And while it's storing the login details, we'll also capture the user profile. So we'll have a form. We'll have a form on our web page on the interface where the user can input his login details. While he's creating the login details, he's also gonna input all these information at the same time. So he's gonna capture everything together and store the login details on this table and also store the user profile of the person inside this user profile table. Now, when you finish creating your models, the next thing you have to do is to register your model. Remember, we created this model, this user profile model, inside our authentication app. Now, what do? You go to your admin.py file as well. Make sure you save everything. Click on Save All. And then this is our user model that we saved when we created the user model here. And so we have to also register this user profile model as well. So you go to your admin.py file, go to the next line, type admin.site.register, bracket open, paste. Oh, I'm just gonna copy the name of the model, which is user profile. Go back to my admin and then I paste it. Like I said, it's giving error because we've not imported it. Now, we can simply put comma here and import that model as well, user profile. So from .models import user. import user profile, because we have two model classes here, user and user profile. If you want to put them on different lines, it's up to you. From uh, from dot models import user profile. It's up to you, so you can delete this. You can delete this if you want, but it makes your code more. So just why not just put comma and then import it all together on the same line. Yeah, and then you click on save all. After you've saved your model, you've imported your model on the admin.py. What is the next thing you need to do? You need to come back to this code. You run python manage.py make migrations and python manage.py migrate. Whenever you create a new model, which is a database table, or whenever you make any modification, you must run these two commands: python manage.py make migration and python manage.py make migration. So if I run that command later during the course, I make any changes here, I have to run those two codes. Now, go back to these three dots, go to terminal, new terminal, and then when it's ready, you type python manage.py make migration. Also type python manage.py migrate. Press enter. Yeah, so it has migrated. And then let's check if this table has been created on our admin panel. You can simply say run this code, python manage.py run server. This one, python manage.py run server. Go to this URL. It has opened our page. Go to your admin panel, add / and type admin. Press enter. Now you see user profiles. It has created our user profile. There is no user profile currently. I'll go back. Now, let me show you something. If I remove this, if I go to my admin.py file and remove this, or let me comment this. When you comment it, it makes the code inactive. So to comment, you just put hash at the front and then click on file, click on save all, and then refresh this page. It has disappeared. So you're not gonna see it, but it's there. The table is in the database. So I'm just gonna remove it, save it again, refresh the page. It's right back now. So I think I'm just gonna stop this video right here, so that I don't want it to be too long. So when it's too long, it will be difficult for you guys to follow along, especially the beginners. So I'm gonna stop this video right here, and then um, hopefully tomorrow, this time around, I'm not gonna wait for 4 days or 6 days before I make a new video. Tomorrow, I'm gonna show you how to create forms, then how to design our interface. We're gonna design this interface so that we're gonna create a form that is gonna tell the user, enable the user to put in their username, to create account, put in your username, put in your password, your date of birth, your email, basically capture all these fields that we've created, and then save all this information, you know, through our front end. So we're gonna be doing some HTML and CSS and some Bootstrap, to design our interface very well. We're also gonna write the backend logic. The logic that is gonna save those information when the user types it from the front end into our database. So at this point, we only created our codes for to create our database tables. So we created our database tables, but we've not created the logic that is gonna pick your username, your password, your this, capture the user and then save inside the database automatically. Just like when you go on Facebook or any account to create a user profile, when you type it on the front end interface and you click on save, it goes and save in your database. So we'll write that logic and we'll also design our front end form so that we're gonna see a visual interface that the user can use in inputting these details. And then, yeah, we're also gonna implement login and logout functionalities. When the user inputs the login details and their user profile, the person should be able to log into their dashboard, and then the person can also log out from the dashboard. So we're gonna do all of that, and I would suggest you modify these codes. You can add more fields, you know, change the name of the fields because this project is going to be a very big application. At the end of this project, you can include it in your CV and have a job or start up as a freelancer. So I have a lot of audience, maybe 200 at this time, and I know not some are gonna drop out eventually, because from statistics 70% of the people that start programming lectures drop out, so some are going to drop out, but the ones that are going to remain, if you make changes to yours, your project is not going to be exactly the same thing as theirs. So you can show it off to potential employers. You can show it off on freelance sites like Upwork and freelancer.com, bid for jobs, get jobs, and get paid. So instead of, yeah, I didn't add, I intentionally did not add some mandatory fields, so you can add them on your own. You can add middle name, you know, you can change profile picture to something else. I'm using small letter. You can decide to use caps, capital letter for your beginning profile picture, which makes it somewhat different as like for the naming convention. You can decide to remove nationality. You can decide to put in other fields like next of kin, occupation or whatever, just to make sure that your your codes are a little bit different from mine. And then when you encounter challenges, do not forget to ask questions on the Q&A section or write to me. And then also endeavor to subscribe so that once I post videos, you're gonna get a notification. Because if you don't subscribe, you're not gonna know when I've posted a video. And then there is no perfect time to learn. I know you're busy with your life and you have your job, your family, or if you're married or other engagement. But if you want to be a developer, you need to practice at least once every 2 days, even if it's for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You must practice every day because, like they say, practice makes perfect. This is my 12 years in development, but trust me, I sleep less than 3 hours every night because it's either I'm working on freelance job or I'm building something new. And the tech world is evolving. New technologies are coming up and all the over the years. I started out with C Sharp and ASP.NET. I moved on to Python. I did Java. I did React, Node, Express, Angular, Vue, and just on and on and on and on. I've done PHP and a lot of languages over the years. So it's a continuous learning process. And some of the things I'm saying you may not understand fully, but trust me, this is how it is with development. You keep on practicing, you keep on reading, you keep on doing it, and then eventually everything is gonna come naturally to you. So yeah, good luck, and we'll see you again tomorrow. I'm gonna post a new video. Then for my previous video on version control, if it's your first time of setting up Git on your system, it's gonna ask you to put your username or your email and your password. I forgot to mention that. So yeah, take note of that. And then I will see you again tomorrow. I'm gonna make a video tomorrow that is gonna finish up this uh, account creation, user profile. We're gonna do the interface, design a beautiful interface for it, and yeah, bye bye, and see you again tomorrow. Bye.